Queridos aldeanos, bienvenidos a Aldea Financiera. Este programa tenemos una entrevista extraordinaria. ¿Sabes cuáles son las tendencias del diseño? ¿Sabes qué implican para tu negocio? Pues el día de hoy nos acompaña David Kuzuma. Él es presidente de la Organización Mundial del Diseño y además fue un ejecutivo importantísimo en la parte de diseño para Tupperware y es ingeniero y diseñador. Así que nos va a explicar cómo están las tendencias en esta área hacia el futuro para que lo puedas aplicar a tu negocio. David, welcome to Aldea Financiera.
Thank you, Roberto.
It is very nice to have you. Now, we would like to start, if it's okay with you, if you tell us a little bit more about David. Who is David? Well, what is his purpose in life? A little bit of his experience.
Okay, I will give a little bit about my experience. So I have had an interesting journey. I have been first educated as an industrial designer.
Okay.
Then I decided after joining some companies, I worked for a number of materials companies.
Okay.
I worked for Bayer Material Science, a German company.
Yes.
I worked for General Electric Plastics, an American company, both in polymers. And they encouraged me to go for schooling in engineering. So I went and I got my second bachelor's in mechanical engineering and then my master's in mechanical engineering.
I see.
And then when I was at General Electric, they gave me the position as a global manager of design and vehicle engineering. So I ended up going back to school, encouraged by them as well, by General Electric, to go to school for my MBA. And I went to school for my MBA. After I completed that, it was actually one of my college professors in the MBA program that asked me, did I want to continue to get my PhD?
Wow.
I answered, yes, I want to continue, but not in business.
Oh, okay.
I want to go back to engineering. And so I ended up going to school for materials science and engineering, and I have my PhD in materials engineering.
That's very impressive career. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now you're president of WDO, World
I
Design
am.
Organization. Can you tell us a little bit more what's WDO? What are the objectives?
So WDO stands for the World Design Organization. The World Design Organization used to be known as ICSID, I-C-S-I-D, the International Council of Societies of Industrial Design.
Oh, I
So
see.
I'm still considering myself a designer.
Correct.
Although I would say that ICSID in the past has also been led by people other than industrial designers. There have been a number of architects that have also taken the leadership of this design organization. In 2017, after 60 years, ICSID rebranded itself as the World Design Organization because it focused on much more than just industrial design. It focused on design disciplines around the world to focus on designing for a better life and a better world.
That's a great objective. How's design affecting or contributing to what is happening in the world right now? How do you see this moment, this specific moment of the world after COVID, after many companies are doing new things, everything that is happening around the world, new technologies, connectivity? How do you see it from WDO and from your perspective? What are the main trends that are happening?
So design is a very amorphous word. When you talk to people about the term design, people who are not really familiar with the discipline think only about decoration,
Right.
Or they think about products, for example.
That's true.
This is something that was really one of the foundations of ICSID way back when. It was focused on product design, looking at the different sectors that designers were working in, and looking at different things like manufacturing processes, materials, and assembly techniques, things like that. But today, if we actually jump forward now, 65 years, 66 years actually this year, since the founding of the WDO. It has really taken a big turn in terms of the objectives. So now it's not just about products. It's about products, it's about services, it's about experiences, and we focus a lot on processes, on education. In the past, we didn't really talk so much about design thinking. Now everyone talks about design thinking.
Correct.
And the big focus for us is on human-centered design. How do we put the human in the center of what we're trying to solve, and then we solve around them so that we're sure that whatever the solution comes up with will provide a benefit to the end user, to the consumer, to the person. And I would say that today we also focus a lot on UN SDGs, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Are you familiar with the UN SDGs?
No, I don't know if you can tell us a little
So
bit
the
more.
UN SDGs, they're a set of objectives. It's actually a 2030 initiative by the United Nations to
Okay.
focus on some of the most urgent topics in the world. Things like poverty, things like hunger, climate change, things like this. So we
Very important specific objectives for
it's very
benefit
important.
of the world.
And we utilize the UN SDGs as a guideline in terms of, excuse me, in terms of how we do our work and our key initiatives moving forward.
So you get together.
So a lot of what the design profession related to the WDO does today in terms of our focus is using design for social improvement. How do we make the world a better place? By solving or by providing design-led solutions to a lot of these problems that are
Wonderful.
identified as some of the most urgent in the world.
And can you give us like maybe an example of the things that you have done around it?
One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that since 1974, we have been a UN consultative organization, which means that we have been recognized as a formal NGO by the United Nations since the 1970s. So it gives us the opportunity to work with a number of UN agencies. One of them, a good example of what you just asked, is the UN Women Organization.
Okay.
So the United Nations Women focuses on women's issues around the world. So they've never worked prior to their engagement with the WDO. They never worked with designers before. So this was the first opportunity.
That's fantastic.
And they came to us and they said, can we utilize design to solve for gender-based violence? How do we solve for violence against women and girls?
Wow.
So we actually ended up developing this project. We had a global challenge where we pulled in hundreds of designers from around the world, part of the WDO network, to work on this project. It was actually fantastic in terms of the operational side of it. We had teams formed that were global in nature, which meant that when you disengaged, let's say, to go home or go to bed at the end of your day, your other teammates continued to work on it because they were
They were worldwide.
Yeah, they were in parts of the world that were still awake. So it meant that by the time you came in the morning, your project had already been around the world. It was able to collect all of the feedback and information from the other team members.
Amazing,
and then
yes.
you could keep it working, So it meant that the project never went to sleep, right?
Yeah.
And it was like that for a couple of months on this project. The feedback that we got back from the UN Women was that this was such an epiphany for them, an eye-opening opportunity, because they came up with many solutions that they never would have thought about by themselves. And now they've come to us for phase 2, So to us
Really?
it was like,
That's
well,
very
what is
good.
phase 2? And to them, phase 2 meant they now wanted to take the top ideas. They selected them. They, out of all the ideas that came out of this challenge, they selected the top 5 of them, and they wanted us now to help them operationalize them into making them real. How can we actually create and put something out in public so that we can start realizing the benefit? right?
That's amazing.
And some of the solutions were architectural installations. How do you give people who have never experienced this type of violence a sort of virtual experience? And how can you change mindsets towards positive behavior? So this is what designers can do today. It's not just physical artifacts anymore.
Yes, a nice chair or something that looks good in
we
your
still
house.
work on those things.
Of course.
But there is a greater calling. We like to think that we have the ability to pull human communities together so that they can solve problems that not only designers can solve. It's very important to have multidisciplinary teams and teams that can actually work together with different skill sets to actually solve problems and bring solutions that actually can work.
That's great. Before getting in the interview, beginning the interview, we were talking about the climate. Here in Guadalajara, we're having a historical high in temperature. How do you see from the perspective of what are you doing from design, new materials, experiences? What is the focus that you're giving in order to do or have initiatives in order to make better or to stop the carbon footprint or the climate change?
So sustainability and environmental sustainability is one of our key focus areas. And designers actually have a lot to say about how people's behaviors should be promoted in a way that makes sustainability more beneficial for human communities. Let's just start with products that we develop. One of the things I will be talking about today is the responsibility of designers. We have talked so much in the past about DFMA, Design for Manufacturing and Assembly.
Correct.
Which is the hallmark of manufacturing, for example. Any company that produces products, it's important that they are very tuned in to all of the modern manufacturing techniques, cost-saving capabilities, things like that, that can make a product successful. But we also must keep in mind DFD. So DFD is Design for Disassembly. Because if we want to develop a product that can be recycled at the end of its life, we have to be able to pull it apart and take apart all the different materials so that they can be responsibly reused. That's right. So we like to focus on what we call the circular economy, right?
Correct.
Keeping the materials in constant use all the time. And one way to do that is to make sure that these products are developed and designed properly so that when we come to that stage, in terms of end of life, we can actually reuse the materials and recycle them responsibly.
And are you seeing a real appetite from big corporations in order to really focus on this for the new products that they are developing? Are they really committed in order to change the way that we are seeing circular economy at this moment? Because that's a big change, because it implies a lot of changing processes and business models that they have at this moment.
We have corporate members who are members of the World Design Organization as well.
Great.
So they do follow the same value stream. This is really important for them as well. One of the things that I do like to see is we have an initiative called the Focus on Design Policy. Okay, so design policy is working with local governments to make sure that they include design into their opportunities for solutions.
Public policies.
Public policies, exactly, is a big part of that. How do you focus again on human-centered design so that that you are providing a benefit, not just to the people, but also to the planet. We always talk about the 3 Ps: people first, planet, and then profits last. not always an easy thing to sell to corporations because they're very focused on the bottom line, that sort of thing. But I think more and more of them are looking at ESG opportunities, ways to make their processes in line with developing products and services for a better world. The important thing is that policies, if you look at how policies have been implemented in different countries, they are very competitive by nature, right? One country wants to be better than another country in terms of capabilities, industrial capacity, human capital, things like that.
Correct.
But there are things that to the WDO is important that go beyond national boundaries. We're all citizens of the world. So if we look at the UN SDGs as a motivator, we should also be looking at things like, how do we solve for food insecurity? How can we solve for poverty and hunger? How do we solve for making sure that the oceans remain clean so that it continues to be a viable food source? Things like this. And this goes beyond national boundaries. So every public policy, in our opinion, should include these factors.
That's amazing. I love the way you're contributing to all these changes for companies in the world. Technology is also affecting or having a big impact, I imagine, on the design of things. We see new innovations, but also technology. And now, recently, the ChatGPT has changed a lot. How artificial intelligence is changing the way that you're looking at the way you're going to keep on working and the future of work, because the design is something that has been shown to the eyes of the world. Artificial intelligence is something that really can make good things on design. What are your insights about it? How do you see it?
So AI is a very hot topic
Yes, it is.
Today. And it's important that we address it. It's let's take a step back though, and let's talk about technology as a whole. And technology today is coming at us faster and faster. Communications are going faster. We have 5G. Soon we're going to have 6G. There's already Wi-Fi 6. A lot of communications technologies are moving faster, and by itself, it's changing the way that we're working. And I think not just as designers, but as society in general, we should not be afraid of technology.
Correct, I agree.
Technology will come whether we're ready for it or not, but designers do have an opportunity, and the opportunity is to make sure that technologies that we incorporate into our products, our services, things that we use in our everyday life, that we make sure that they provide the maximum benefit to human communities, to humans and to humankind. And this is really important because things like AI, if you think about AI as a tool, you shouldn't be afraid of it.
Correct.
It can only make us better, right, in terms of what we do. They also say that AI has the ability to give you new ideas and new concepts because it can disassemble virtually items that have been created in the past and then send it to you assembled in a different way that maybe you hadn't thought about. But it's still using old information to create new information. So you still need the people to create the new information, to keep it going. And I think this is important. If you use AI as a tool, I think there should be no conflict. This is an opportunity. But if you use AI as the end solution, then I think that you're limiting yourself.
Correct.
And I think that there has been a lot of discussion in the past with regards to do we even need designers in the age of AI? For example.
Yeah, the future of work. What is going to happen with designers?
It's a question, and the important thing for us as designers to think about is that everything that we create should benefit the user, the humanity, the
human-centric.
person.
Yes.
Exactly. Because, and this is really important to point out, because technologies also give you the temptation for misuse.
That is
right?
correct.
And so long as we're using it in the proper way, I think we can continue to advance with technology in a good way.
They say with new technologies, with for instance the Industrial Revolution, the type of work changed, but they some works ended, but there were new types of jobs in the market. What do you see in the future? You were mentioned very human-centric, but do you see new type of works around design because of what is happening with AI?
So design is really involving other disciplines in order to create its work. I had mentioned the UN Women project.
Correct.
There were a whole lot of social scientists involved in these projects as well. You cannot look to designers only as a professional group to try to solve all of these different problems. I think what designers can do is to bring in the human aspect. Even technology, for example, a lot of designers, if they utilize and they incorporate certain types of technology, they do gain a certain amount of expertise. But their role is to, again, make sure that we do enough research on the human side to make sure that it can create a proper benefit. If we look to the future, there's so many different things that are now being discussed. Number one, it's the future of design education. That's one of them. How is that going to change? And what are the minimum standards that a graduating designer out of the university should have in terms of skills and knowledge
Correct.
in order to take on a responsible job in industry?
And now soft skills get higher importance.
Soft skills do get a higher importance. When I was leading product at Tupperware for 20 years, one of the things that we did was we sent our designers and our engineers, actually, anyone involved in product development, to cooking school. Cooking school,
yes.
like where
For
chefs
food,
go.
yeah.
That's right. And that's because if we're developing products for the kitchen, it's important that they understand from the user's point of view what
Correct.
these products are supposed to do.
Very smart.
Right? And
yeah.
these are all soft skills, but they can only complement the outcome and the quality of your end solution.
That's amazing. What you have said is great. I think we have a great future for design. I'm happy that the WDO is working on this. And I don't know if you have a final message for Aldeanos as president of WDO for this interview.
Well, one of the things that we do like to focus on as well are young designers. So if there are any striving young designers out there, it's good for them to think a little bit about not just how to design objects, but the consequence of what happens to these objects in the future.
Correct.
We have within WDO an initiative called the Young Design Circle. And the Young Design Circle is meant specifically to provide mentoring and guidance to young professionals so that they have all the tools that they need, not only to be successful, but also to help initiatives regarding the planet and sustainability to be successful as well. So this is not an initiative for students. These are young professional designers, graduates of the universities, but under 30 years of age. And this gives them an opportunity. So I would welcome anyone who is interested, whether you're a young designer or whether you are striving to be making the world a better place. Come and join our initiatives in the World Design Organization.
David, thank you for being in Aldea Financiera. It
Thank
has
you very
been
much,
great.
Roberto.
Muchas gracias.
Esto fue todo por esta entrevista. Estaremos con ustedes. Denos sus comentarios en redes sociales. Por supuesto, no se pierdan los siguientes episodios que tenemos en el programa. Denos like en las redes sociales y denos también sus comentarios. Les agradezco y les deseo que tengan un día, ya lo saben ustedes, con tendencia positiva. Hasta la próxima.